Part 3, The Unholy Alliance. Marduk summons Lucifer. The moon hung low and ominous in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the ancient ruins that had long been forgotten by time. The crumbling stone structures, remnants of a once great civilization, now served as the stage for a ritual of dark power. Shadows seemed to dance of their own accord, and the air was thick with the scent of burning incense and arcane oils. At the center of this forsaken place, Marduk stood tall and imposing, his figure draped in robes as black as the abyss. His eyes, glowing with an unnatural light, scanned the symbols etched into the ground around him. These runes, carved with precision, formed a circle of power, designed to bridge the realms between the living and the damned. Marduk raised his arms, and a deep, resonant chant flowed from his lips, a language forgotten by most of the world, its words heavy with ancient power. The ground beneath him trembled, responding to the invocation. The flickering flames of the surrounding torches seemed to grow taller and wilder, casting a macabre light on the scene. As the ritual reached its crescendo, Marduk produced a dagger, its blade shimmering with a dark, otherworldly energy. He drew the blade across his palm, letting his blood spill onto the ground, the final catalyst to complete the summoning. The blood sizzled as it hit the runes, and a low rumble echoed through the ruins. The air grew colder, and a swirling vortex of shadows began to form within the circle. The darkness within the vortex deepened until it was impenetrable, and from it emerged a figure of formidable presence. Lucifer, the fallen one, stepped through the portal, his eyes blazing with a fierce, unholy light. His tattered wings, now symbols of his defiance, spread out behind him. Marduk, Lucifer's voice was a low, dangerous growl, resonating with power and authority. What reason do you have for summoning me from the depths? Marduk bowed his head slightly in a gesture of respect, but his eyes remained locked with Lucifer's. Great Lucifer, I call upon you in a time of shared interest. The balance of power is shifting, and Metatron, the newly risen archangel, poses a threat to us both. Our goals align, and together, we can ensure our dominion remains unchallenged. Lucifer's gaze hardened as he considered the proposition. Metatron, he spat the name with disdain. A mortal elevated to my former position. His rise is an insult that cannot go unanswered. Marduk stepped closer, his voice low and persuasive. Join forces with me, and we will craft an alliance that the heavens will tremble to behold. Together, we can reclaim what has been taken from us and reshape the cosmos to our will. Lucifer's expression shifted from anger to contemplation. He could see the potential in such an alliance, the power they could wield together. Very well, Marduk, he said finally. We shall forge this unholy alliance. But know this, betrayal will not be tolerated, and the consequences will be dire. Marduk nodded, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Understood, great Lucifer. Let us prepare for the battles to come. As the pact was sealed, the flames around them flared brighter, casting long, twisted shadows over the ruins. The two beings, once powerful in their own rights, now stood united in their quest for revenge and domination, their unholy alliance set to challenge the very foundations of the celestial order. The Book of Corruption. In the hidden recesses of the dark fortress, where only the boldest dared to tread, a heavy silence lay upon the stone halls. The flickering torches along the walls cast eerie, shifting shadows, creating an almost tangible sense of foreboding. In a chamber adorned with ancient relics and arcane symbols, Marduk awaited the arrival of a messenger from the abyss. Marduk stood at the center of the chamber, his imposing figure framed by the dim light. His eyes, glowing with an otherworldly intensity, scanned the room, anticipation etched across his face. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the lingering power of countless rituals. With a sudden gust of wind, the torches flickered and dimmed. The temperature in the chamber dropped noticeably as a portal of swirling shadows began to form in one corner. From within the vortex stepped a demon, tall and gaunt, with skin the color of charred ash and eyes that burned like smoldering coals. The demon, known as Azazel, held a large, ancient tome bound in dark leather. The cover was etched with symbols of corruption and decay, pulsing with a sinister energy. Azazel approached Marduk, bowing deeply as he extended the book. Master Marduk, Azazel intoned, his voice a guttural rasp. I bring you the Book of Corruption, as decreed. Within its pages lie the secrets to manipulating the hearts of men through their basest desires and darkest sins. Marduk's eyes gleamed with a malevolent light as he took the tome, feeling its dark power coursing through him. Excellent, Azazel. This book will be the key to sowing chaos and discord among the humans. With it, We will turn their virtues into vices and their strengths into weaknesses. Azazel straightened, a cruel smile playing on his lips. The book details how to exploit each of the 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, pride, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. It provides the methods to amplify these desires within their hearts, turning them against one another and themselves. Marduk opened the tome, his fingers tracing the intricate, malevolent symbols inscribed on the first page. Greed, he murmured, reading aloud. The desire for wealth and power can turn the noblest soul into a tyrant. By manipulating their ambitions, we can create a world of endless conflict and strife. He flipped to another section. Lust, the craving for physical pleasures, can destroy the bonds of loyalty and love. We will fan the flames of their desires, leading them to ruin. Marduk's eyes flicked over the next pages, absorbing the dark knowledge contained within. Pride, the root of all sin. By inflating their egos, we will blind them to their own faults and sow discord among them. Azazel watched with satisfaction as Marduk delved deeper into the book. Master, the humans are easily swayed by their desires. With this book, you can craft subtle manipulations, turning their society into a breeding ground for sin and corruption. Marduk nodded, a sinister smile spreading across his face. Indeed, Azazel. This book will be our weapon, our tool to undermine the human spirit. They will be so consumed by their own vices that they will never see the darkness closing in around them. He closed the book with a resounding thud, the echoes of its dark power lingering in the air. Prepare our agents, Marduk commanded. We will distribute this knowledge among them, and they will carry out our will. The time has come to unleash a wave of corruption upon the world. Azazel bowed once more, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent. It shall be done, Master Marduk. As the demon departed, Marduk stood alone in the chamber, holding the book of corruption close. The pages of the tome seemed to whisper promises of power and dominion, and Marduk knew that with this knowledge, he would be unstoppable. The world of men would fall, not through force, but through the slow, insidious erosion of their very souls. The reptilians. In the shadowy depths of his dark fortress, Lucifer stood before a grand, obsidian mirror, its surface swirling with shadows and faint glimmers of distant stars. His eyes, burning with unholy fire, fixed on the reflection as he invoked the ancient spell to communicate with his lieutenants. The time had come to bolster Marduk's efforts on Earth and ensure the success of their unholy alliance. The mirror's surface rippled, and a dark, reptilian figure emerged from the depths of the reflection. Scaled and imposing, with eyes like smoldering embers, the reptilian commander bowed deeply to Lucifer. Master, the reptilian hissed, its voice a cold, sibilant whisper. What is your command? Lucifer's gaze hardened, his voice low and commanding. The time has come to unleash our full might upon the earth. Marduk's efforts to corrupt humanity are progressing, but he requires our aid to ensure the world falls under our dominion. You will lead your army to Earth and oversee the spread of corruption and chaos. The reptilian commander straightened, its eyes gleaming with a mixture of eagerness and malice. It shall be done, my lord. We will descend upon the earth and ensure that Marduk's plans come to fruition. Lucifer raised a hand, and a swirling portal of dark energy materialized before the commander. Through this portal, you will find your way to Earth. Go now, and let the world tremble before our might. The reptilian commander saluted, then turned and strode through the portal, vanishing into the swirling darkness. On the other side, the reptilian army awaited, their scales glistening in the dim light of their underground lair. The commander emerged from the portal, and the army fell silent, awaiting orders. Brothers, the commander called out, its voice echoing through the cavern. The time has come to claim the earth. Our master, Lucifer, has commanded us to aid Marduk in his quest to corrupt humanity and bring the world under our control. We will spread fear, greed, and chaos, and ensure that the human race falls to their basest desires. A low, rumbling cheer rose from the ranks of the reptilian soldiers, their eyes glowing with anticipation. The commander raised its arm, and the army began to march, their footsteps echoing like thunder through the cavern. As they moved through the portal, they emerged into the human world, their presence shrouded in darkness and secrecy. On Earth, Marduk stood at the edge of a vast, desolate plain, a sinister smile playing on his lips as he watched the portal open. The reptilian army poured through, their disciplined ranks forming a formidable force. Marduk, the reptilian commander hissed, approaching the ancient being. We have arrived to assist you in your quest. Marduk nodded, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Welcome, Commander. Together, we will ensure that humanity succumbs to their darkest impulses. Your forces will infiltrate their societies, spreading greed, lust, pride, and other sins. We will turn their strengths into weaknesses and their unity into division." The commander bowed. "We are ready to serve. The humans will not know what hit them." Marduk gestured toward the distant horizon, where the lights of human civilization flickered like beacons in the night. "Go forth and begin your work. Spread discord and corruption, and ensure that the world falls into chaos." The reptilian army dispersed, moving with silent precision as they began their infiltration. In the shadows, they whispered temptations into the ears of the powerful and the weak alike, turning hearts and minds toward darkness. Marduk watched them go, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over him. With the combined efforts of Lucifer's forces and his own cunning, the world would soon be ripe for their taking. The seeds of corruption had been sown, and now, they would reap the harvest. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, a new era of darkness and chaos began to dawn on the world, heralded by the unholy alliance of Lucifer and Marduk, and their relentless pursuit of dominion over humanity. The royals. In the heart of an ancient forest, where the canopy of trees whispered secrets of a forgotten time, a secluded clearing had been chosen for a gathering that would alter the course of human history. The air was thick with anticipation as the first royal families of Earth assembled, their banners fluttering in the faint breeze. The leaders of these dynasties, cloaked in the regalia of their newfound power, awaited the arrival of the one who had summoned them. As twilight descended, casting a golden hue over the clearing, a figure emerged from the shadows. Marduk, his presence commanding and otherworldly, approached the assembled royals with a predatory grace. His eyes, glowing with a sinister intelligence, took in the gathered nobles, each one representing a cornerstone of emerging human civilization. The royals, sensing the weight of the moment, bowed their heads in reverence as Marduk reached the center of the clearing. He raised his hands, and the air around him seemed to shimmer with an unearthly energy. "Leaders of humanity," he began, his voice resonant and hypnotic, "you have been chosen to partake in a great transformation, one that will secure your power and dominion over this world." A murmur of curiosity and apprehension rippled through the crowd. Marduk continued, "I offer you a gift, a means to transcend your mortal limitations and ensure the supremacy of your bloodlines. Behold, the corrupt reptilian gene." He produced a vial filled with a dark, iridescent liquid that seemed to pulse with life. "This essence will infuse your lineage with strength, cunning, and a capacity for control far beyond ordinary humans." One of the kings, his eyes reflecting both awe and skepticism, stepped forward. "What do you ask in return, great Marduk?" Marduk's lips curled into a predatory smile. "Swear an oath of allegiance to me, and to my cause. Pledge your loyalty, and in return, you will be granted the power to rule unchallenged, to bend the wills of men to your desires. Your families will become the undisputed rulers of this world." The royals exchanged glances, the allure of unparalleled power and longevity whispering to their ambitions. One by one, they stepped forward, each placing their hand upon the vial. "We swear," they intoned in unison, their voices merging into a single, resonant vow. "We swear our allegiance to you, Marduk. We pledge our loyalty and our bloodlines to your cause." Marduk nodded, his satisfaction evident. "Very well. Drink, and let the transformation begin." He handed the vial to the first king, who drank deeply before passing it to the next. Each royal in turn partook of the dark liquid, their eyes widening as they felt its power course through their veins. As the last of the royals drank, Marduk raised his arms, chanting in an ancient tongue. The clearing was engulfed in a shimmering light, and the transformation began. The royals felt their senses sharpen, their minds expand, and their bodies strengthen. They could feel the essence of the reptilian gene intertwining with their own, altering them on a fundamental level. When the light faded, the royals stood taller, their eyes now holding a predatory gleam. Marduk surveyed his new allies with satisfaction. "You are now more than human," he declared. "You are the beginning of a new order, the architects of a world shaped by our will. Together, we will guide humanity, steering it towards a future of our design." The royals bowed deeply, their voices filled with newfound conviction. "We are yours to command, Marduk." Marduk's smile widened, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Then go forth, and begin the work of shaping this world. Spread your influence, consolidate your power, and remember your oath. Our time is coming, and with it, a new era of dominion and control." As the royals departed, their minds already plotting the next steps in their newfound alliance, Marduk watched them go, his heart filled with dark satisfaction. The seeds of corruption had been sown, and soon, the world would bend to the will of its new masters. The magic of forgetfulness and changing the history of Earth. In the dimly lit chamber of the ancient fortress, Marduk stood before a massive stone table covered with intricate maps and ancient scrolls. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the hum of hidden machinery, creating an atmosphere of both reverence and foreboding. A single torch cast flickering shadows across the walls, highlighting the dark, twisted carvings that told tales of forgotten epics. Marduk's eyes, glowing with a cold, calculating light, shifted to the reptilian commander standing before him. The commander, a fearsome figure with scales glistening in the dim light and eyes that burned with a malevolent intelligence, awaited his master's command. "Commander," Marduk began, his voice low and authoritative, "we have made significant strides in sowing the seeds of corruption among the human rulers. However, our control over humanity remains incomplete. They possess memories of past lives, fragments of knowledge that threaten to awaken them to their true origins." The reptilian commander inclined his head, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. "What is your will, my lord?" Marduk's gaze hardened, his voice resonating with dark intent. "You are to oversee the genetic modification of the human populace. Ensure that they can no longer remember their past lives. This will sever their connection to the knowledge that could lead them to the truth." The commander nodded, a sinister smile curling his lips. "It shall be done. We will alter their DNA to erase the memories of their previous incarnations. They will forget who they were, becoming easier to manipulate and control." Marduk's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Good. But that is not all. We must also rewrite their history, changing the records and erasing any evidence of their true origins. Humanity must never learn of their divine heritage or the ancient knowledge they once possessed." The commander's expression grew more serious. "We will infiltrate their institutions of knowledge, libraries, universities, places of learning, and systematically alter their records. Historical documents, religious texts, and scientific findings will be rewritten to suit our narrative." Marduk's gaze turned towards the map spread out on the table, his finger tracing the lines that represented human civilization. "Begin with the most influential centers of learning. Ensure that the new records are so convincing that no one will question them. Use their own scholars against them, planting seeds of doubt and confusion." The commander bowed deeply, his voice filled with grim determination. "I will mobilize our agents immediately. The modification of their genetics and the rewriting of their history will commence without delay. Humanity will be plunged into ignorance, and their quest for truth will lead only to more questions and contradictions." Marduk's smile was one of dark triumph. "Excellent. With their memories erased and their history rewritten, humanity will be lost in a maze of deception. They will never know their true potential, nor will they unite against us. Their disunity and ignorance will be our greatest weapons." As the commander turned to leave, Marduk's voice echoed through the chamber once more. "Remember, Commander, this task is of utmost importance. Our dominion over this world depends on the success of these operations. Failure is not an option." The commander nodded, his eyes gleaming with resolve. "I understand, my lord. The genetic modifications and historical revisions will be carried out flawlessly. Humanity will be none the wiser." With that, the commander departed, his mind already racing with the logistics of the massive undertaking. Marduk watched him go, a sense of satisfaction settling over him. The pieces were falling into place, and soon, the world would be entirely under his control, its inhabitants unaware of the chains that bound them. In the shadowy recesses of the fortress, the echoes of Marduk's plans reverberated, promising a future where truth and knowledge were but distant memories, buried beneath layers of deceit and manipulation. The last nail. In the grand hall of the ancient stronghold, a place steeped in dark power and veiled in shadows, the leaders of the world's royal families gathered. The hall was illuminated by flickering torchlight, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls adorned with ancient, cryptic symbols. The air was thick with an unspoken tension, each of the royals sensing the gravity of the gathering. At the head of the room, seated on an elevated throne of black stone, was Marduk. His presence dominated the space, his eyes glowing with a malevolent intelligence. He surveyed the assembled nobles, each representing a key dynasty from across the globe. These were the men and women who controlled the levers of power, bound to Marduk by their oath of allegiance. Marduk rose, his robes rustling like the whisper of death, and the room fell silent. "Lords and ladies," he began, his voice echoing with a resonant authority, We stand on the precipice of a new era. Our influence has spread, and the foundations of our dominion are set. But to ensure our reign is unchallenged, we must bind the people to us in ways they cannot escape. The royals leaned forward, their expressions a mix of curiosity and ambition. Marduk continued, economic control is the key. Through economic slavery, we will ensure that the masses remain docile, distracted, and dependent. This will be achieved through a series of calculated measures. He gestured to a map unfurled on the table before him, detailing the world's major economies. First, we will manipulate the financial markets, creating cycles of boom and bust. This volatility will ensure that the people are always on edge, striving to secure their livelihoods but never truly succeeding. A king, his brow furrowed in thought, spoke up. But how do we maintain control during the periods of stability? Marduk's lips curled into a predatory smile. By indebting them. We will extend credit freely, encouraging them to live beyond their means. They will become bound by their debts, spending their lives working to repay what they owe. This will keep them tethered to the system, unable to rise against us. A queen, her eyes glittering with intrigue, asked, "And how do we manage those who resist, who might see through our schemes?" "Through taxation and regulation," Marduk replied. "We will impose heavy taxes on the middle and lower classes while offering loopholes and incentives to those who support our rule. Regulatory frameworks will be designed to stifle innovation and entrepreneurship among the common people, ensuring that true economic power remains within our grasp." The nobles nodded, understanding dawning in their eyes. Marduk's plan was both subtle and insidious, leveraging the very structure of society against itself. Furthermore, Marduk continued, "We will control the media and education systems. These institutions will propagate the myths of meritocracy and fair play while subtly reinforcing the narrative that wealth and success are the ultimate goals. The people will be so focused on personal gain and survival that they will not see the chains that bind them." A prince, eager to implement the strategy, asked, "How do we deal with dissenters, those who might rally the masses against us?" Marduk's gaze hardened. "We will isolate and discredit them. Through surveillance and manipulation, we will ensure that any voice of opposition is silenced or marginalized. Public perception will be our tool. We will turn the people against anyone who dares challenge the status quo." He paused, letting his words sink in. The royals exchanged glances, a mixture of excitement and apprehension on their faces. They were the architects of a new world order, one built on the foundation of control and subjugation. "Remember," Marduk intoned, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "our power lies in the illusion of choice and freedom. The people must never realize that their lives are orchestrated by our design. They must believe they are free, even as they toil under the weight of our control." The meeting concluded with a solemn vow, each royal pledging to implement Marduk's directives within their realms. As they departed, the Dark Lord watched with satisfaction, knowing that the seeds of economic slavery had been planted. The chains that would bind humanity were invisible, yet unbreakable, forged in the crucible of deception and greed. And thus, the world moved closer to a future where the true masters remained hidden in the shadows, their grip tightening with every passing day. The Unholy Church. In the depths of an ancient Egyptian temple, hidden beneath the sands and shielded from the prying eyes of the world, Marduk convened a secret gathering with the high priests of Egypt. The chamber was dimly lit by the flicker of oil lamps, casting long, sinister shadows on the intricately carved walls adorned with hieroglyphs and symbols of forgotten gods. The air was thick with the scent of incense, creating an atmosphere both sacred and foreboding. The high priests, draped in ornate robes and golden adornments, formed a circle around a central altar. Their faces were a blend of reverence and anticipation, knowing that the being before them held immense power. Marduk, his presence commanding and otherworldly, stood at the head of the altar, his eyes gleaming with dark purpose. "Honored priests of Egypt," Marduk began, his voice resonant and authoritative, "you have been called here because the time has come to reshape the spiritual landscape of your people. The old gods are fading, and a new faith must arise to guide and control the masses." The chief priest, a man of considerable age and influence, stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with curiosity and ambition. "Great Marduk, what is this new faith you propose?" Marduk's lips curled into a predatory smile. "We will create a new religion, one that will captivate the hearts and minds of the people, offering them hope and purpose. But beneath its surface, this religion will serve a darker master. It will be a facade, a structure designed to secretly worship Lucifer and further our agenda. The priests exchanged glances, a mixture of intrigue and apprehension in their eyes. The idea of creating a new faith held immense power, but the risks were equally great. How shall we proceed? Another priest asked, his voice tinged with both eagerness and caution. First, Marduk replied, we must weave elements of the existing beliefs into this new faith. The people must see it as a natural evolution, not a sudden imposition. Incorporate symbols, rituals, and deities they are familiar with, but reframe them to fit our new narrative. He gestured to the walls, where images of gods and pharaohs were etched in stone. Create a pantheon that appears to serve the light, but in truth, each god will represent an aspect of Lucifer's power. The highest deity will be a figure of wisdom and enlightenment, but this will be Lucifer in disguise. The chief priest nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. We can craft tales and scriptures that elevate this new deity, casting him as a bringer of light and knowledge. The people will flock to his worship, believing they are serving the greater good. Precisely, Marduk said, his smile widening. But there is more. This new church must have a hierarchy, a structure that ensures our control. You, the priests, will occupy the highest positions, acting as intermediaries between the deity and the people. Your loyalty to Lucifer must remain unshakable, for it is through you that his influence will spread. Another priest, younger and with a cunning gleam in his eye, spoke up. And how do we maintain control over the followers, ensuring they do not suspect the true nature of their worship? Marduk's eyes flashed with a malevolent light. Through fear and promise. The followers must believe that their salvation lies in unwavering devotion and obedience. Those who question or stray must be met with swift and decisive action, their fates serving as warnings to others. He paused, letting his words sink in. The priests nodded, their minds already racing with plans and schemes. The creation of a new religion was a monumental task, but the rewards would be beyond measure. Remember, Marduk intoned, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, the true power of this religion lies in its duality. To the world, it will appear as a beacon of hope and guidance. But in the shadows, it will be a conduit for Lucifer's will, spreading his influence and preparing the way for his dominion. The priests bowed deeply, their voices filled with a newfound determination. We understand, great Marduk. We will build this church and guide the people to worship our true master. Marduk nodded, satisfaction radiating from him. Go forth, then. Begin the work of crafting this new faith. Let the people believe they are serving the light, even as they are bound in darkness. As the priests departed, their hearts filled with ambition and their minds with dark plans, Marduk watched them go, his heart filled with grim satisfaction. The seeds of a new religion had been planted, and soon, a church devoted to Lucifer would rise, cloaked in the guise of enlightenment and salvation. The world would be drawn into its fold, unaware of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. In the shadows of the ancient temple, the future of human faith was being rewritten, one deceptive promise at a time.